Hey everybody, it's Hiram up here at Mount Ashland, bringing you a quick update on the progress we've had to date on the lodge renovation. So we're going to take a little bit of a different look at the lodge today and talk about some things that aren't quite as obvious to folks who are looking at the project from the outside as to what the value and the advantages of this project really are. And that's the safety aspect. So we've talked a lot about the guest service piece, the addition of space, creating a lot more value for our guests. But what we haven't really talked about is some of the things that we found during the project that were incredible safety hazards that we're now able to mitigate because we tore into the lodge and started doing this project. And then of course some of the things that were designed into the project to add safety for our guests and our staff, and of course for this historic building itself. So come on along for a tour and we'll show you what we're doing. Yeah, so another thing that's as much about safety as guest comfort is before the lodge only had 2 windows that opened, and there were windows that we put on the 2nd floor with the intention of being able to air out the lodge and get fresh air in here. So when we decided to install these beautiful windows from Pella, we hadn't really considered having opening windows at the base, and so we spent a little extra money and spec'd in these windows where we can actually open them up and get some fresh airflow through here. This is going to be really important during the summer months when it gets hot in here. If we happen to be having a wedding, we don't have air conditioning, we have natural air conditioning, and the way that we get it into the building is by having these windows that now open. As you enter the lodge, you no longer have this half wall that used to sit right here. The egress for the lodge is going to be a lot more efficient and safer. So if we ever have an emergency in the lodge while it's full of people, you can imagine that getting them out of here without having that half wall blocking the main exit of the building is going to be a pretty important thing as well. So just another example of things that came about through construction that allowed us to do some of these improvements for. So another thing that you wouldn't think of so much for safety, would think of more as a guest service piece, would be we're adding additional cubbies here. Now the reason that impacts safety is when guests don't have a place to put their bags, they end up on the floor and it becomes a tripping hazard. And where we have very little floor space open for people to walk, every square foot that we take up with bags on the floor, ski boots and equipment, it makes it it can make it a hazardous situation. So we don't want those kind of obstacles in the lodge, but we never really gave people enough space to put their gear. So that's what we're trying to change here by putting in cubbies along this wall. The other thing that occurred is I'm right next to the kitchen, I'll bring it up. Part of the kitchen floor was slab on grade. So basically it's concrete poured on top of dirt. The dirt had settled over the years, so we actually had the concrete floating, and until we cut into it to put in the new plumbing, we had no idea that had been undermined, and that could have been a structural issue for the future that we would have had to tear up and dig out. It would have been very costly, and again, wouldn't help the lodge to survive for future generations the way that we want it to. So the fact that this project forced us to do some saw cutting into the concrete revealed that issue with the building. So another important thing that this project revealed was that our fire alarm, which was basically just a local alarm system with pull stations and buzzers and horns that would alert guests if they're in the building and we need to get them out. The problem is we've added some new egress and some new exit and entrance doors, and in order to do that we have to put a pull station next to those doors, and the pull stations are what would initiate the fire alarm were there to be an emergency while the building is occupied. So this is the current fire alarm system. As you can see, it is a bit of an antique. It looks like something that you might see in the Smithsonian. It's a good unit. It served us well all of these years, but the reality is it's not something that we can integrate with these new pull stations. So it's going to be an over $40,000 investment to bring this up to code and up to a significant change in the safety in the building. One of the most important things in my mind is that not only for when the building is occupied will this help us keep people safe, but at night when the lodge is not occupied, what would happen is if the lodge started on fire, we wouldn't know until the next morning. This does not dial out to any service And so therefore the new system will be designed to dial out so that if anything happens while the building's not occupied, we can get fire and rescue moving quickly. So from here we'll talk about the safety in terms of the snow. So everybody knows we get a lot of snowfall up here. This area right here is usually buried in snow, and this roof has always held the snow. One of the reasons we want to go with a metal roof is because of performance. Fire safety, of course, is one of them, but the other piece is that we want this roof to slide in manageable amounts, not build up a whole bunch of snow and dump it in areas where guests are walking. So this was an old vestibule. Unfortunately, the vestibule was not built in a way that we could actually use it for this project. So the vestibule is going to be rebuilt, and the door will exit out slope side here. Now, folks probably remember that we had a roll-up door there that would stay open all day long, allowing cold into the lodge. But more importantly, we would have to cut snow steps. Like, we would literally build snow steps every day that we were open to give people a way to get down off of the snow surface. With this new design, we'll actually be able to groom out in front of it and get it to the level that we have the front door at, so that people can come and go safely and not be having to walk down handmade snow steps every day. So huge safety factor there. Not to mention the fact that just by simply enclosing these decks, we're saving a whole bunch of backs. And what I mean by that is we would shovel these decks off every single time it would snow, and that puts people in harm's way because we don't want to lift any more snow than we have to here. So much safety involved in this project in terms of the benefits that come from the things that we find and the things that we designed around safety. So again, in terms of egress and the safety factor in having people be able to flow through the lodge more effectively, this is a real good example, because this beam can't go anywhere. This is part of the lodge structure. It's right in an entryway, and it's always been a bit of a pinch point, especially because the women's room door has been here for all these years. So what we intend to do is we're going to knock out some of this structure, open up this doorway, and move this door around to the other side to eliminate the crowding here and try to make it a safer way to get up and down the stairs. So you guys just So to wrap up, we just wanted to talk a little bit outside of the lodge. The lodge is getting all of the attention this summer, but what we want people to know is that we're still running a ski area that does a ton of summer maintenance every single year for guest safety. An example is sitting right here beside me. This is the old haul rope from Ariel. We get it inspected annually. The inspector said we might get a couple more seasons out of it, and we chose to get it done this year. You never know, what weather windows you're going to have to get a big job like this done. So Ariel now has a brand new haul rope. Haul rope was about $40,000. So we're not just making investments in the lodge for safety, we're making investments out on the mountain as well, including a $100,000 snowcat that we purchased to add to the fleet to increase our ability to move snow and to groom out the slopes for our guests. So to wrap things up with this safety talk on the most recent virtual Hardhat tour here at Mount Ashland, we'll finish with the safety that's going to come from not having beginners have to walk all the way from this building to that building, their first time ever in ski boots carrying skis across the windiest point in the Siskiyous. We're so proud to be getting this work done on behalf of our guests, on behalf of the entire community of Rogue Valley residents, and we look forward to seeing everybody up here on the mountain. We appreciate our donors very much. Again, always want to state that we appreciate the assistance that we got from the Karen and Sid DeBoer Foundation with their $500,000 matching grant, as well as all of the donors who have stepped up to help support this project. But the road is not over yet. We have a long way to go. We appreciate those donations. We hope you'll visit us at mtashland.com and donate to the Lodge Project today. Thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you on the mountain.